didn't cover really a toxic masculinity, right? Because
yes, it's dealing with the principle of reciprocity.
What's going on, guys? BMS and I are back with another video. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Make sure you guys don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So here we go.
Hi, Jordan. My question is, what is the antidote towards toxic masculinity?
Well, the antidote is responsible masculinity. And what does responsible mean? It means, well, if you're responsible, then you're trying to do what's honest first. So you're careful with your speech and your actions. You're careful with your speech in that you don't say things that you know to be false, and you're careful in your actions so that you don't have to lie about what you do. That's a good start. And then the next thing would be that you're capable of taking responsibility for yourself, at least, so that once you're an adult, no one else has to bend over backwards to ensure that you don't unduly suffer in the world. And so that's responsibility for yourself. And then if you get halfway good at that, well, then, you might think about taking on the responsibility of a family and contributing to your community and doing all those things in a harmonious manner. And that's obviously the antidote to toxic masculinity, which is not a phrase I would generally use.
A regular functioning human being in today's society, right?
Literally, yeah.
A person that's a good person. So I don't understand why this toxic behavior is always gender specific, right? It has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. It's just a matter of, are you a good person?
Yeah, exactly. So if you know that you're doing your best as a person, right? Like you're not bringing harm to anybody. You're just, like you're trying to provide for your family. You're trying to keep up with your health and like, you know what I mean?
Not
just the
break
basics.
the law.
Yeah, like you're being a good citizen, whatnot. Like that's kind of like the basics of it. But for people, I don't know. I feel like I hear it so often over the littlest things that women will just generally everybody talks about toxic masculinity over just like a man.
A disagreement.
Yeah, literally it'll be a disagreement of just like, no, I think otherwise or something. And then being like, oh, like that's toxic or whatever.
Or a man has to say it in a soft, delicate way.
Yeah.
If
it's
you
the
rate
delivery. It's
the delivery, right? Because with Kevin Samuels, he's toxic and all this.
Yeah.
Like, no, he's just being a man. He's saying it with his chest out, and it is what it is, right?
Okay, there's a fine line with obviously, you have to be like, I think you should be kind with how you say certain things,
right.
But it's okay to put your foot down to say, you know what, this is my opinion, and this is like my core value, and I'm not afraid to say that.
I just think about it as, what would you call it? I think sinful behavior is a much more accurate representation personally, but it's honesty and responsibility. And I do think about it as a function of harmony. I got that a lot from reading Jean Piaget, whose work was a psychological extension of Kant's categorical imperative, because Kant believed that you should act in a manner such that if the way you acted became a universal, that would be beneficial. But Piaget formalized that very nicely, showing that one of the bases for the emergence of a system of genuine ethics was an iterable form of reciprocity. So that, so for example, I can give you a quick example of that. My granddaughter, who's now 15 months old, has discovered a new game. And it's a Piagetian game, a developmental game. And she discovered this by watching, but also on her own, and partly because it's a very deep part of human nature. So she has this little wooden spoon, and her game is, you sit with her at the table, and her game is, she gives you the spoon, and then you take it, and then you give it back, and then she's all happy about that, and then she gives the spoon to the person who's sitting beside her, and then they give it back to her, and she's very happy about that. And so it's an amazing game because she's learned to give up something, to let go of something that she wants, and to trust someone else to return it to her, and that's what she's playing with. And then you can play with that game. It's quite fun. So, and you have to pay careful attention to her and watch how she's manifesting her emotions. And so maybe what you do is you take the spoon and you hide it under your hand. That sort of disconcerts her a bit. Then you show it to her and pick it up and give it to her, and she's happy about that because what she sees is that the principle of reciprocity can maintain itself across a set of transformations, and that's really exciting to her. Or you can give her the spoon and she can give it back to you, and then she can reach for it and you can pull it away 1/4 of an inch, and that sort of disconcerts her, and then she'll
She doesn't get it.
What is she even saying? The whole
You
time.
wanna
Oh,
repeat
sorry.
that?
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think the mic is-
I
okay.
said that didn't cover really toxic masculinity, right? Because
Yes, it's
She's
dealing
so
with the
stuck on
just dealing with the
toxic
principle of
masculinity.
reciprocity.
You
She
just
feels
said that you
personally,
have to be
like,
honest and
about
responsible
this.
as a man.
I think that's the problem in today's society, right? Women are missing the point. It's not a man versus woman thing. It's a good versus bad or good versus evil thing, right? So she's kind of spinning it like only men do bad, right? And it's this kind of buzzword in today's society where, again, if a man was to do bad or disagree with a woman, he's a bad person, right? He's being toxic. But if a woman disagrees with the man, then there's no consequences to that, right? And in today's society, if you hold a woman's feet to the fire in regards to her bad behavior, you're being toxic. But if a woman wants to do it, then it's just this whatever thing.
To my granddaughter, I'm not engaging in toxic masculinity. And that was the point that I was trying to make, is that, and this deep reciprocity and trust is part of the social contract, and it is precisely the antidote to what precisely, since we're going to pursue this, what precisely is toxic masculinity, as opposed to, say, toxic femininity or toxic humanity? What exactly are you asking me about?
I really want to know what you like, how you would describe toxic masculinity. Because
No, I want you to define what toxic masculinity constitutes. Since we're going to define things so carefully, let's do it.
well, I think
Okay, guys, sorry, but we really have to move on. So
Oh,
there will be more questions later on.
How the hell do you ask the question and then not know the definition?
Yeah, I know. He was trying to help her out too. The host, he was just like, yeah, okay, hold on.
And then
hold
that
on.
host
Like-
is like trying to bail her out.
Yeah,
Nah, you got to put her in the hot seat,
Yeah.
right, to really stand on what she just said.
Yeah, because the thing is though, like he's asking for clarification. She's over here coming in hot, being like, "No, tell me what I asked." And he's like, first of all, how do you define it? And then from there we can have a conversation. And then so when he tried, she clearly was like, I don't know, like.
Right, because if he has his definition and then she has hers,
Yeah.
then they're not speaking the same language,
Yeah,
right? They're having
yeah,
two
yeah.
different conversations. So he's literally just asking for clarification so that he can ask the question or answer the question. But again, it doesn't seem like she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's define it shortly.
All right, shortly, please.
Gosh, okay. I think that the moment when you kind of, I have a hard time to kind of describe it in English. Let's say, that you kind of go over a boundary that kind of neglects the freedom of the opposite, well, gender or whatsoever. So that's toxic masculinity, and that you kind of have.
But
this
that would also be toxic femininity.
Well, may I like finish my sentence,
Sure.
please? Thank you. And then also, I lost my sentence now. But no, I will be back. I'm back. But more in the sense that. Yeah, can someone help me here in the audience?
Okay, so before we move on, let me point something out. You know, that I was willing to undertake this line of discussion, allowing for the possibility that the category of toxic masculinity had some content, right? But if we're going to pursue that line of reasoning and quibble about the answer, then we're certainly going to quibble about the definition that's embedded in the question. And so part of what's happened in our discourse is that we're required ethically to assume a priori, merely out of politeness, that the utterance toxic masculinity actually constitutes a meaningful phrase. And if you push it, you find very rapidly that it doesn't, because it's very, very, very difficult to define, and definitions actually matter. And so if it's a matter of transgressing against the boundaries of gender appropriate behavior, well, first of all, that indicates that there's something universal and normative about gender appropriate behavior, which is something that people who push the idea of toxic masculinity generally tend not to presume. And second, it's just as likely to happen among women as among men, in which case it's not toxic masculinity. So maybe on to the next question.
Okay.
In layman's terms, he's basically saying you're full of shit, right? I mean, there's no real definition here.
Yeah.
So we can't even have a conversation. I can't even address your question, right? And when you challenge these women on what it is and what it means, there's nothing there.
Yeah, and what he was trying to explain too, it's not the basis of like gender, right? It's not about women, men, whatever. He's trying to explain that like these are toxic traits that people are responsible to, like, you know, change in themselves. So he's not trying to pin it on guys. She's trying to pin it on like men specifically who display toxic traits, whatever.
Right.
But that's not the conversation. Everybody has toxic traits.
All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and end this video. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time.
Bye, guys.